Hello crocheters! Today we are getting started on our Christmas in July crochet along, and we are going to be making, sorry, turned wrong way, Darcy deer. So this is what we're going to be crocheting today. And so the first thing we are going to need is we are going to need an 8mm hook, and we're going to need our A, B, and C yarns. So A is going to be the colors I'm using. A is taupe, B is white, and C is almond. So this color right here. So without further ado, go ahead and grab your hooks and your yarn and let's get started. All right, so the very first row we have, I'm going to move this off to the side really quick, is going to be magic ring single crochet 6. So we're going to use our color A yarn right here. We'll go ahead and do a magic ring. So this is a more advanced tutorial, so I'm not going to work quite as slowly here in the beginning as I have on some others. So we're going to go ahead here and do a magic ring. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I should not have said that this is an advanced tutorial because it's not advanced, but it is intermediate. So it's going to take a little bit more skill and knowledge and know-how, but it's not too terribly complicated. Anyway, resuming. So single crochet 6. So we're going to work into the hole like this. Single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You're going to go ahead and pull the magic ring tight like so. And then in this project we are going to be closing each row with the invisible slip stitch. So for that you're going to take your hook out of the loop it was in. You're going to insert from the back to the front of the next stitch, put the loop over like so, and pull it forward. And so that ends row 1. So for row 2, we're going to single crochet 3. So we work right here into this stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And then before finishing this off, before yarning over and pulling through the second half of the stitch, we are going to switch colors. So we are going to be switching to our color B yarn, which is white. So we're going to take it like so. You're just going to pull a loop through like this. And then what I like to do is I like to hold these two yarns together and then crochet over them. That way they are nice and secure. So we've switched to color B, and now we're doing a triple increase. 3, increase, 3. So what that means is we're going to work a triple increase. So 1, 2, 3. All 3 of those stitches being worked into the that one stitch. And so we're doing that 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. And the last one. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so I'm pausing here before we finish off our very last of the triple increases because I know that in row 3 we're switching back to color A. And for the sake of speed, I like to just switch right here at the end of the row using that same method we did in the color change before. And then we're going to close off with the invisible slip stitch, like so. So right now my crocheting is inside out, so I'm just going to pop it right side out, and you can already see this is going to be our nose, and this is where we are, like it's starting to form already. So row 3 we're going to increase, stitch right there, then we'll single crochet, and increase. And before we finish that off, going to switch colors here to B. And we're going to, I'm going to once again just kind of crochet over these ends, single crochet, increase. So there I single crocheted over them once. I'm probably not going to carry them all the way around. I'll show you what I plan to do in a minute. So I crocheted over them one time to anchor them, then I'll move them off to the side. All right, so we're on single crochet, increase, and then we've got to do that 3 more times. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. This is our last one. And then we're going to single crochet. Once again, we're going to switch back to the brown to pull it through. So you guys can see I'm just kind of taking it and pulling it over here, but I'm going to give myself some slack because I don't want it to like pull and misshape my project. So that is the end of row 3, and we'll close with the invisible slip stitch. All right, so row 4, we're going to increase in the first stitch. And something I'm going to do, so you guys saw that I pulled this strand over. I'm going to crochet over it. I'm going to hold it up here and I'm going to crochet over it to kind of anchor it. And I'm actually going to do the same thing with the white. So I am going to carry the white across here because it's not a very long stretch. That way I can kind of keep using it as I go around. So I just did my increase, and then on the single crochet 3, I'm going to carry the white and secure the brown. So 1, 2, and 3. Then increase. 1 and 2, and before I finish that off, I'm going to go ahead and take the white. Sorry, I want to make sure my strands don't get crossed, and pull it through. Then we're going to use the B yarn, and we're going to single crochet 13. So once again, I'm going to crochet over one of the strands, or the brown strand, for 1, and then I'm going to continue around, not carrying it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and we're just going to check. Yep, make sure that we're switching back to A. So go ahead and switch. Once again, making sure that that is not like too tight. And then we'll close off row 4. So when it comes to switching colors, I've gotten a lot of questions about whether you should cut and carry, cut versus carry, what you should do. And so I just figured in this tutorial I'd kind of show you guys what I do. Does this mean it's right or perfect or better than any other method? No. It's just how I tend to do it. For me, it typically works up a little bit. It's a little bit faster. I will sometimes cut. I will sometimes carry all the way. It just kind of depends on what it is. One thing to note is that if you're going to carry, especially if you're going to carry 2 yarns, it will make the stitches bulkier. So like these white stitches down here where I haven't been carrying anything at all, they're pretty thin. Versus this row here where I've got 2 that I've been carrying behind it, the white and then the brown that was kind of pulled over. It's a little bit bulkier. I don't think it's going to like really misshape or ruin your project, but it's just important to note that it's going to feel a little bit different. And so if consistency in feel is something that's really important to you, maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe you would prefer to cut and tie off every time you do a color change. Maybe you prefer to carry all the time. It kind of depends on what you like. You absolutely have the free license to do whatever it is that you think works best. All right, so here we are on row 5, and this is important to note, is that in the second half of this row, we switch to color C, which is going to be our almond yarn. So don't switch back to B, which is white. So we're not going to carry the white this time. We're just going to leave it hanging here, and we're going to slip stitch 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on 7 with a slip stitch, you are going to just pull that loop of color C right there, and that finishes it off. So we've got those 7 stitches of color A, and then we've moved to color C. So here again, I'm going to take these 2 strands and I'm going to crochet over them at least once. So that first strand we're going to do increase, and then I'll probably drop them and not carry them over, and then single crochet 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase. 1, whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then our last stitch is an increase. So once again, before I go ahead and pull the last half of this strand through, I'm going to pull in the B. So my strands here are getting a little bit muddy, and I try really hard to not let them do this because it makes me a little bit unhappy. So I'm going to actually move this one here. Okay, that cleans things up a little bit. Before we pull through the last half of our last increasing stitch, we're going to check going forward, and we're switching to color B. So we're going to pull our white to finish off that stitch, and then we'll close with the invisible slip stitch. This is the nice thing about referencing the pattern versus the slides, is that you just have all of it there and you can see what's coming. All right. So row 6, we have 1 stitch of color A, and then we switch to, or sorry, color B, then we switch to color A. I'm going to make sure we've got it's loose enough here that we can crochet over it. There we go. pull our strands. Sorry, I want to make sure that's a little looser. There we go, that feels better. So we've got our stitch of color B. Now we're switching to A. And this time I am going to carry the white as well because we're switching back to B here in a second. So we're going to go single crochet 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then on the last half of this, switch to our color B, single crochet 1, and then we're switching to color C. And so this this is one where with the color switch, I'm going to pull it across like this, but with the understanding that I am going to cut and tie this in a minute. So I'm going to give it a little bit of slack, but this is mostly going to be a cut and tie. So now I've switched to C. I'm going to single crochet 1, 2, dropping these strands, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, increase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and before finishing this off, reference the pattern that says we're going to be switching to our color B. So I'm going to pull this over and switch colors. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this row, because this is where we're working, with the invisible slip stitch. So this is where we are. So before we continue on to the next row, I want to show you guys the cut and tie. So right now I've got these two strands that are kind of floating in here by themselves. They're too tight to like crochet over. Well, I mean, I could crochet over them up here, but they're the wrong colors. They'd need to be crocheted over down there. Anyway, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut them right here in the middle, and then I'm going to take them and I'm just going to knot them together. So you guys, you really can do, when it comes to like what the best way to do any of this is, just whatever feels natural. So I'm not going to cut that strand there, but I'm just going to knot this together here so it's secure. There. And that's just the piece that'll be tucked in. So it's about what feels right to you guys. There's not really a wrong or right way. You guys could carry all of these colors if you would like. You could cut and tie all of them. It's really about your preference. Alrighty, on to row 7. So we're working with our B yarn, which is white first, and we're going to increase. In the last half of that, we're switching to color A. And I'm going to pick it up like this. That way my yarns don't get all befuddled. And I'm going to carry this. I could carry all 3 of these, which would make it a super bulky stitch. So what I'm going to do, I'm sorry, I hope this is not like the ramblings of a mad woman for you guys. So I've got these 3 yarns. This one needs to be tucked behind. This one needs to be carried because we're using it over there. And this one needs to be carried because we're going to use it right here. So what I'm going to do so that I don't have 3 huge stitches behind here is I'm going to alternate like which ones I carry. So let me show you what I'm thinking. So we're doing a single crochet, and on the single crochet, I'll carry just the brown. I'm going to do an increase. I'll carry the white. So like I'll just crochet over the white. Next single crochet, I'll grab the brown. Because they don't necessarily have to be carried perfectly, they just kind of need tacked up out of the way. So increase, I want to do the white again because it's coming up next. Increase like so. Single crochet. I'll do the almond. Increase for one of the increases. I'll do the brown. For the other increase, I'll do the white. So that, I mean, you can see here in the back, like they're not the most beautiful, but at the same time, like the stitch didn't get super thick from having all those 3 strands crocheted over. So it all depends on what you guys want. I'm sorry, I'm getting really into this on this pattern because I've had so many people ask, and I didn't realize until I started like trying to explain that I kind of do just whatever feels right. And that's not really like the best explanation. That's not the most helpful. So here I'm just trying to walk you guys through my mental process of why I make the decisions I do when it comes to carrying, not carrying, etc. All right, so we're here in our last stitch of the increase. So we're switching colors to our bee yarn again, like so, and we're going to we're going to increase. And so I'm going to crochet over the almond color because I'm using it next. There we go. So switching back to using almond, switching back just like so. I'm going to single crochet 16. And guys, on this one, I am going to carry the white as I single crochet the 16 because I know I need it up next. Did I need it up next last time? Yes, I did. Did I not did I not carry it? No, I didn't. It all just depends on what feels right, what kind of goes with your guys' flow. So I hope that that is an adequate answer, and that as I've kind of shown you guys what I'm doing, that it makes sense and that it's helpful, and clears up some questions instead of making more. If it made more, I'm so sorry. All right. And we'll switch back to our color B. And I'm just going to double check and make sure I have all my stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Perfect. All right, so switching back to as closing off like so with our color B yarn. Oof, we're getting messy in here again. It really bugs me. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to increase 2. So increase and increase, then switch to color A, Now, is there a way to do that? No. I've got to untangle my yarn so I can be a happy human. Okay, not perfect, but we'll make it do. All right. And switch to our color A yarn like so. And then we're going to single crochet 9. And I'm going to carry both the brown and the white. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and switch to, oh, it's getting so tangled. You guys are probably going to experience this as well. Unless you have like the coolest, I don't know, system for keeping all of your yarn straight, and if so, please share it with me. All right, and then we're going to increase 2, 1, and 2. And we're going to go ahead and pull this one across. So this is probably going to be a cut and tie in a minute. And we'll go ahead and carry the white. We'll single crochet 16. Drop the brown. Carry the white. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Went over too many loops there. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So here in our last stitch, we're going to go ahead and switch back to our color B so we can be ready for the next row. And we're going to close with the invisible slip stitch. Looks kind of cool here on the inside, I think, when you carry the yarn. Yeah, just a tidbit. All right, so row 9, we're going to increase with the white, single crochet 2, 1, and 2, and increase one more time, and switch to our color B. So B is getting, like, this span that we're starting to have to cross is getting kind of lengthy. So this is probably going to be a cut and tie, not a crochet over, at least for me. So I'm going to single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All the while I was carrying my white. then switch in the second half of that stitch to our white, and we're going to increase 1, single crochet 2, 1 and 2, and increase again. Second half of the stitch, gonna pull our color C yarn over, and we're going to single crochet the 16. Once again carrying the white. 3, 4, oops, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And before we finish off that row, I'm gonna go ahead and switch colors. All right, so before we move on to, well, let's do the invisible join and then we'll do that. Or the invisible slip stitch. All right, so now the row is finished off. So you can definitely see our deer head taking some good shape here. But before we move on to the next row, we've got some strands of stuff going on in here that is pretty cumbersome and really not very clean. So right now I'm going to cut these 2 almond colors, and I'm going to knot those together on both sides. And I know that at the when I begin this next row, row 10, I'm going to be doing the same thing with the brown where I kind of pull it over here. So at the end of the next row, I'll go ahead and snip those and knot them together to kind of clean up what we have going on in here. All right, so row 10, I'm gonna start off with single crochet 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. At the end of this row, or the end of that stitch, we'll go ahead and bring it on over, and we'll crochet 9, single crochet 9. Going to just tuck it once, like crochet over it one time, so that it's secured, and then whoop, I'm going to carry the white over when I single crochet the rest of this color A. All right, and now the end of this, the last half of this stitch, we're going to switch back to our color B, and we're going to carry the brown this time. We're going to single crochet 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because in the last half of this stitch 6, we're switching back to our A yarn. We're switching back to brown. And so we're going to single crochet 16. So if you want, you can carry the white behind, or you don't have to. But we're switching now. This is actually the last time that we're going to use the color C in the head. So we're going to cut it here at the end of this row, so it's not complicating matters. So we'll just crochet over it like so. Until we get to the very end. And switch to our color B, because that's what we're using at the beginning of the next row. All right, so now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and cut off our color C yarn and just set it aside because we're not going to need it for a while. I'm going to snip these two color A's and just knot them together. I mean, you don't want to pull so hard that you like misshape anything, but you want them to be secure. All right, so there we go. And I forgot to finish off the row by joining with the invisible slip stitch. There we go. And there we are. It's coming along pretty good, I would say. Pretty happy with it. So the next row, we're starting with color B and we're decreasing. Now here's a confession. Decreases on the on an invisible join are so hard, or at least an invisible decrease, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to come from behind and up, and you're trying to get just that first loop, which I find really hard. So I just, if it's going to be on the very first, I do kind of a normal, not exactly a normal decrease, but what I do is on a decrease that is right after an invisible slip stitch, I go ahead, go under the stitch, yarn over, pull through. I grab the front loop of the next stitch, trying to keep that consistent, yarn over, pull through those two, yarn over, pull through one. So, I mean, if you're a crocheting ninja and you can like just fine do an invisible decrease on the end, I guess the first stitch after an invisible slip stitch, by all means do that. But it's pretty hard for me. So single crochet 2, and then we'll do a normal invisible decrease here where we work our yarn under that first loop and under the next, the front loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through those two, and we're going to be switching to color A. So before I go ahead and do that, I'm going to switch colors there, pull my B strand tight, and then I'm going to carry my white yarn as I single crochet 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and switch to color B. All right, then with our color B, we're going to invisible decrease like so, then carry the brown yarn for the next 2 stitches, the next 2 single crochets, invisible decrease again. On the second half of this stitch, switch to our color A. Then single crochet 16. And once again, I'm going to carry the white. I do a lot better job at keeping my yarn straight when I only have 2. When there's 3, it gets pretty complicated. Definitely one of the important things on this pattern to pay attention to is the colors that are in brackets. As it really changes how the finished look is. I made one where I forgot to pay attention to the brackets. It's a little embarrassing. All right, 16. Now we're just going to double check. Okay, so in row 12, we are not switching back to color B. So I'm not going to worry about pulling it through on that last half. I'm going to keep my color A yarn. I'll go through here and find my, there we go, my first stitch, just like so. And gonna for row 12, gonna crochet single crochet 33, all in our color A, which is brown. I'm going to carry the white for a couple of stitches just to get it nice and secure, because I don't want that to come unraveled. Then I'm just gonna cut it and throw it out. And then we'll continue single crocheting 33 all the way around. Once again, going to join with our invisible slip stitch to finish off the row. So from row 12 on out, we're only using our color A yarn, so you don't have to worry about using any of the others at this point. So row 13, we're going to decrease single crochet 9. We'll do that 3 times for a total of 30 stitches. So once again, the decrease right after an invisible slip stitch is pretty challenging. So I'm going to pull up a loop, then go through the next stitch like so, and have that be my decrease. So then we'll single crochet 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and decrease. Grab the front loop of the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, decrease. And once more, well, single crochet 9, this should be the end. 7, 8, and 9. And that should give you 30 stitches at the end of the row. All right, then at this point, you're going to start stuffing. And I will be honest, I think this is maybe just a smidge early. I want to do one more row before we stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. It's my pattern, I reserve the right to change things on the fly, right? All right, row 14, we're going to single crochet 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll decrease. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and do that 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, and decrease. So the reason why I want to put off stuffing for one more row is because you want to kind of find the sweet spot where your crocheting is tight enough to hold the stuffing in, but not so tight that you can't get stuffing in. And I mean, that's usually going to be in the rows where you start to get into the 20s. So that's what I'm thinking for this one. Decrease. 2, 3, decrease. All right, so this is the last stitch in this row, and I do think that now would be a good time to start stuffing. So go ahead and close with the invisible slip stitch, and then, went over the wrong stitches. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and grab out our nylon. So normally I would recommend using a brown nylon for this project, but I've got black on hand, and it's not really going to show through, so I don't think it's going to be an issue to use black if you have it. Or, I mean, in the past I've had white nylons, like I could use this one. Obviously it's been used a couple of times already, but there's not quite enough of it left, so shan't use that. So you're going to place not a bunch, but some fiber fill here in the very tip of the nylon. So I'll get my hand in here. I'm loosening it up a little bit because this has been sitting in here for a second. So you're going to go ahead and take it just kind of loosely like this. You're going to place it in, and you're going to do everything you can to help it sit in the nose. Because if it's not placed, if it's not stuffed to the tip of the nose, sometimes you'll have this issue where your nylon won't stay back here. It'll start kind of receding forward. And so my tips for that are, first, stuff the nose really well, and then stuff the head. Because if you just try and stuff the head first, it's not going to work trying to push the nylon back into this area. But if you can't get that to work, then I would suggest doing something like this, where you take some nylon in, take some stuffing, put it in a nylon already, and you place that in the nose first. So just for demonstration's sake, I'll go ahead and do that. So you're going to take it and you're going to put it in there, and then you would take your second nylon and put it in there on top. And what this does is that separation between the two nylons helps this the first one to stay in the nose. It's not going to be pulled back by the nature of the nylon. You know, the nature of the nylon is going to be to kind of pull close, which is why you have to stuff really nice and firmly. And so it'll just help the nose stay nice and stuffed. And I wanted to bring that up because I have had people in the past, I know on the Unicorn Hobby Horse Crochet Along, comment and say that the nose just wouldn't stay stuffed, and that was an issue for them. And so that is just one of the things that you can do to help things stay well stuffed. All right. So getting some stuff in there. Once you get some fiber fill in there, you're going to want to add a little bit more. And here's the technique I like to do. So I folded this over like so. I like to not just push down, because I think that stretches out vertically the stitches when I don't want them just stretched this way. I also want them stretched side to side. So You're going to take your fingers and you're going to pull the stuffing to the sides. So you're going to do both. You're going to push down and you're going to push to the sides. But either way, you just want it to be nice and filled out. Pull this back here for a second, take a look. So it doesn't have to be completely stuffed at this moment. And it's feeling all right to me. Definitely it needs more stuffing. So probably, actually I'm going to add a little bit more now, and then we'll crochet a few more rows and then add more stuffing as we go. All right. Don't know if you guys can hear the windstorm outside. Kind of strong today, but I like the sound of the wind, so I've got the door open, or the window open. All right, so here we are. Definitely we're a little more filled out now, and you can tell because I've been like stuffing with the nose down that it's looking a little bit flattened. That's not how it's supposed to look. That is a result of making a crochet along, honestly. Sometimes the nose is just getting a little bit squished. All right, so we'll continue on to row 15, which is single crochet 24, which is super basic. So how about you guys go ahead and do this row and we'll meet back for the next. So that's the end of row 15. For row 16, we're going to single crochet 1, decrease, and single crochet 1. Then we'll repeat that again. Single crochet 1, decrease, single crochet 1. So what this really is, if you haven't seen a pattern or if you haven't seen it written out quite like this, is this is a like single crochet 2 decrease repeated 6 times. But if you break up the single crochets, so they're on either side of the decrease, it can help kind of smooth out some of the edges so you don't have a bunch of series of decreases in the exact same spot. So that's the reasoning behind it. Because if you have too many rows where the decreases land in the same spot, they get a little bit puckered. We don't want that. All right, this is our last one, single crochet, decrease, and single crochet. So definitely at this point we're gonna, after we close off the row with the invisible slip stitch, we're going to add more stuffing. So go ahead and open up the nylon. By the way, on this project, you'll use almost an entire nylon. So just keep that in mind. I recommend nylons for this project, not knee-highs. Knee-highs just don't have enough stretch for all of the things that we're going to be doing. So adding some more. That feels better. All right. In row 17, going to single crochet 1, decrease. And we're just going to do that around the entire head. So we'll have 12 stitches at the very end. All right, so here's the end of row 17. Finish off with the invisible slip stitch. And this, I mean, we're going to be able to add a little bit more fiber fill at the end of the last row, but not very much. So you're going to go ahead and take some time right now to just add a little bit more stuffing under this row we just made. And then we'll finish up row 18 is going to be decrease 6. So once again, on this first decrease, we'll grab a insert yarn over, then the next one will go under the first loop, sort of our modified decrease, and then we'll do an invisible decrease the rest of the way around. And if you get, like if you're not all the way done going around and you feel like you need to add more stuffing before you finish, you can absolutely do that. This is kind of the, I mean, this is the end of the head. And so honestly, me looking at this project right now, I can tell that there's a lack of stuffing right here. So before I go any farther, I am going to finish. I'm gonna stuff a little bit more into that spot because I can tell that it's lacking. It should be filled out a little bit more. And I highly recommend anytime you are making something before you really tie off to take a minute. Oh, see, and now it's over. I overcompensated. To take a minute and make sure that the stuffing is laying the way that you would like it to, because the stuffing really informs the shape. There we go. See, that's a lot better. Before we had kind of a steep angle when we didn't need one right there. So the stuffing really informs the shape, and so if you aren't careful about checking where your stuffing sits, you can end up with kind of a wonky shape when otherwise you've done absolutely everything else right. So that is just something to keep in mind. All right, and closing off with the invisible slip stitch. We're at the end of row 18, and so at this point we're going to tie off. So just gonna shape it a little bit with my hands, make sure I'm happy with that. Feels pretty good. I do think I need a little bit of stuffing right here under that last row we just made, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll be able to really tie it off. I'm just kind of pushing it under every one of the stitches there, trying to make sure it's nice and even. Pull it out. There we go. And I'm just going to knot it off. Like so. Then go ahead and take your scissors and cut the nylon off. So I could have knotted that a little bit closer. It didn't quite work. There we go. It'll be fine. When you're just going to take 4 or 5 inches or so, and I just pull it right through that last stitch. And then to tie off, we're going to gather the last, or the outside loop of each of the remaining stitches. like so. You can see it's already like getting a lot smaller. Just like that, and then you're going to pull it tight. There we go. And then you're going to tie it off and weave in the ends. Well, there's only one end really, so weave in the end. Just like that. And we are done with the head. My nose is a little bit smushed from, there we go, that's better. Yep, so we are done with the head. The next thing we're going to be working on, probably in the next video, it's going to be eyes, nose, and antlers and ears. So this is really going to start coming to life in the next video.